JB, load that up.
Pull that up, JB.
Pull that up, JB.
Pull that up. Welcome, ladies and gents, and everyone in between, to episode 7 of the Authenticity Hour. Welcome to the mastermind, system creator, business owner, entrepreneur, through and through badass, Mr. Tom Phillips, everybody. Come on, give it up.
Thank you.
Woo. Yeah. Love it. And thank you for making the time, by the way. This is probably the second time we've had to rearrange because I'm terrible with scheduling.
Good.
I think it's around that. But yeah, thank you for being so accommodating and actually coming down.
Mate,
now,
pleasure.
We're always having a...
Love talking about this stuff.
Oh, mate, it's great. And this is why I like having a show, because I literally just open up to talk about anything.
Yeah.
So
it's a good excuse to make content. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Double whammy.
It's like the whole point that I think a lot of people in the social world and just in general forget the power, especially for a B2B brand, right? If you're talking to a person on the other end sales-wise, the power of stuff that just makes you feel relatable. Because like this whole podcast is just so you can feel like we're more approachable. Yeah. To make sure there's not this barrier like, oh, we're some little posh agency that does X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, we're just
actually just cool.
We just
cool set of people.
Yeah, and that's and I've only recently discovered that, because you always have these preconceptions of business, don't you? Like there's just people in suits, and especially when you have no idea what it is when you're a kid, and then you actually find out that so much of it is to do with how much you like the individual on the other end, and how much you do well and just connect as a person.
That's very
which
true.
Is so interesting. And yeah, that's why I want to get you on the show today, because just your wealth of experience in businesses. So tell us a little bit about how you started, man, because you have a really, really cool story. So walk us through it, man. How did you become the man you are today?
Which camera am I looking at? Any of them.
Me, cameras, whatever you like.
I started my first business when I was I always had like a weird entrepreneurial mind, I think.
Yeah, it's always the way. There's always some inkling, and there's always little signs in the younger years.
I think the first thing I remember from business was when my mum used to like run the brownies. Brownies and guides.
Nice.
And she used to have this Booker card, and I used to go to Booker's with her and buy loads of Freddos for like under 10p or whatever they were.
Shout out to when Freddos were 10p, thanks inflation.
Yeah. And then I sold them at school the next day, and I used to take orders on MSN the night before.
Orders on MSN. You had
pre-order.
You had an online order system, you know. And I used to be that guy with the Coke cans and the gum. That was my shtick. But never did I think to automate it on MSN. Yeah,
because then you take pre-orders and then you know how many you bring in the next day.
There's levels to this game, guys. There's levels to this game. You're basically hustler kid from recess.
Yeah. And then I think my first main, I don't know if you could call it a business because it wasn't a limited company or anything like that, but
venture,
I basically made first venture. I was 13 and I was making little skateboard decks, like tech decks.
Tech decks.
So I used to make 3-ply wooden versions of them.
Nice.
Like me and my dad made a mold in the garage, and then used to like stick 3-ply wood together from the hobby store. Yeah. Put it in a mold and everything. Had upgraded to like a belt sander after I'd sold a few and shit like that. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I can't swear.
Yeah, you can. Okay. Yeah, we swear on this shit
like
that.
And and then we had like a jig with a pillar drill and all that shit. Yeah. And then lacquered them. Used to like print stuff on the bottom. Yeah. And then in the first year I sold to 39 different countries, and it got so busy I had to shut it down. Like I just couldn't keep up with the demand.
First of all, so did you just have an e-commerce platform?
Yeah, so that was actually my first e-commerce thing thinking about. So I had a website.
So that's amazing at 13, by the way. So what year was this when you had the website up?
It must have been 2003 because it was year 7 in school.
Because 2003 to be on, that's the breaking point of e-commerce. People were not buying stuff that much online back then.
Yeah, I guess
that's incredibly expanded to that many countries at that level. Yeah. People underestimate how much people did not use the web as much back then. Like even in 2003, they just like. You wouldn't even think today that it was the case, but it genuinely was like, no, I'll go into the shop. I'll still use Argos catalogs.
Yeah, I think because it was such a niche product.
You had to find it online.
Yeah, like I sold it via this forum that was all about like fingerboarding, basically. And then and through SEO. Like that was my first taste of SEO.
Optimization.
Yeah, optimizing the website and everything like that. It's called Vision Decks. I've still got a whole... next time you come round, I'll show you. I've got this whole box.
Oh mate, you got to bust it out. Like crack out the half pint.
No, it goes from like the first original deck to the latest one that was like carbon fiber.
Oh, it's got carbon fiber variants. Yes.
Crazy. So yeah, that was my first thing, and then it just evolved.
Yeah.
Evolved from there, really. Just
how did the shipping work at that stage? Was it actually still you sending them out to different countries, or did you manage?
Yeah, I had to go to the post office.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After school, before school, or I'd ask my mum. I can't remember how I did that. I can't remember the logistics side of that in the end.
Yeah, because that's going to 39 different countries while still being at school, trying to ship that. That's what I was like working out the thing. I was like, yeah, damn, okay.
It was. I'm sure. Yeah, maybe it was. I used to cycle to school. Yeah, because I used to cycle past Friday Arcade, and the thing used to be there in Chelmsford. Yeah, so it must have been before school. Yeah,
that's so cool. And that was just the first one.
That was just the first thing. Yeah, that was like my first taste.
Yeah.
Of it.
And once you got a taste, you don't go back.
No, and my brain just bubbles with ideas all the time. And I remember I was working at McDonald's. I was 16.
Shouts out to Mackie D's.
Yeah, God, my worst job ever. I had a 50cc motorbike at the time, and I was riding there.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the worst. This is the absolute rock bottom, like worst job I could ever do.
Yeah.
I was doing burgers.
Yeah.
In the back.
Chefing.
And I was playing a lot of Call of Duty at the time.
Yeah.
And I saw that people had this pistol that would rapid fire. And I was like, how the hell do you do that?
Was it the custom controllers?
So I looked online and I found out, it's custom controllers. So I was like, right, let me do that. I want to do that. So I built it myself, coded a custom chip, soldered it into the controller, put a button in the back. And I was like, oh shit, it works. That's cool. So then I just scaled it out, and then I started... I'm trying to think of what the company name was now. So basically, you would send me your controller.
So it was always custom request, was it?
Yeah. I would modify it and then send it back to you, and you'd pay me for it.
That's so sick.
And I scaled that up, and I was earning 4 times as much an hour as McDonald's. So I was like, fuck this, I'm not working at McDonald's anymore.
The maths adds up,
Yeah. So then I quit and carried on doing that for ages.
That's
incredible. And then I got priced out of it. Someone started doing it way cheaper, and I couldn't make profit on it. So that was another big lesson.
Yeah. So the cutthroat industry thing.
Yeah. It's just a race to the bottom with some industries in terms of price.
But how? My question always is, when I hear stories like that, is how the hell did you gain the skills to know how to custom code a chip and install it in the back of a controller? Were you always like quite techie and on that cutting edge in terms of knowing how to do that kind of thing?
Nah.
Or did you fully dive down the rabbit hole and research how to actually make those products yourself?
Yeah. So in my bedroom, this is a bit random, but in my bedroom, on my mirror, I can learn anything I need to, written on there in whiteboard marker.
Everybody write that down, please.
So when I wake up and I look in the mirror, and that's just the affirmation of, I can do anything that I can learn anything I need to. Therefore, I can do anything that I want to do.
Yep.
So if you just always have that mindset of, okay, like for example now, like we're talking about earlier, like, okay, I want to take on capital. Okay, I have no idea how to do it. Let me learn everything about it, and then I'll be able to do it.
Yeah. Digest, learn, action, execute, test, keep it going.
Yeah,
it's
the same thing with, how do I program a microchip? I don't know. Let me find out online. Just do research and.
So I feel like that's such a valuable piece for so many people. Because like I've definitely had that. Everyone can have limiting mentalities in some area. Yeah. So and some people it comes out in different areas specifically, and others it affects them everywhere. So for me, limiting mentalities came out in anything to do with maths and analytics, because of how much I struggled with it in school. And then you just have it like forms itself into something. Yeah. Or what was the other one? When it comes to basketball, there was a limiting mentality I had with that when I was trying to play basketball as a kid. So I was like, I have to be better than everyone else. One mistake means it's all falling into crap. And you just get yourself in these different things. But there's something really powerful and potent about doing something like writing it on your mirror every day, like, and just having it there permanently. I feel that's something that not a lot of people do, because we always talk about goals and we always talk about things we should aspire to, but physically seeing them every day does make a huge difference, especially just the way human mind works. So that's what I really like about your approach to it.
Absolutely. And I think as well, it's going a bit off topic, but the morning routine I think is very, very powerful.
Yeah, again, it's something I've never instituted yet, but I've heard the power of it.
So I completely went off my morning routine. I went to California early this year, saw my good friend David there, and he was like, what are you doing first thing in the morning? And I was like, oh, I'm not. I'm just like getting up and working. He's like, well, That's why. That's why you're being ineffective, and you're not getting the shit done that you want to do.
Yeah.
So then, we sort of went back over things, and I've now adopted his morning routine, and then added my own few little bits. So it's basically wake up first thing, go and meditate for 20 minutes.
Nice.
The Insight timer.
Yeah.
That app is sick.
Insight timer.
Insight timer.
Because obviously there's ones like Headspace and all of that, but that's more for like relaxation meditation and stuff.
Yeah, I think they've got a bunch of different stuff on there, but this one specifically, it like keeps you accountable because
meditation is a skill.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, meditate, I can do that, close my eyes 20 minutes. It's really hard. It's really hard to concentrate and actually like keep yourself calm, focused, and not just thinking about how bored you are, or if you've got something that's worrying you, it plays on your mind. So
that's why I do a 20-minute one, because it takes me 10 minutes to get into it.
Yeah.
Some people just do 10 minutes and you wake up. You open your eyes after and you're like, oh, I still feel the same. And like, here we haven't, you haven't got into it enough yet, type thing. Yeah. So I do that, 20 minutes of that. I then read my yearly goals on my Remarkable. Read that. I then do 50 push-ups, yoga, stretch, read one page of my book, which is like, at the moment, it's just this 1 page a day one, the Stoic one, not this one.
Yeah.
And then, and gratitude. I run through a list of gratitude questions.
Yeah.
And then I start my day.
And so powerful, that repetition.
Yeah, just doing that every single day, because you're just solidifying so many things and making yourself feel so good first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
That you're just gonna perform at a higher level throughout the day.
Yeah,
it's just a given.
Genuinely, it like, as much as it's thrown around on like Instagram and anything like that, like the mindset thing is extremely powerful. And I think a lot of it, like, people hear these routines and they go, really? Like, or they try it once and then they fail at it and then they go, this is a load of bollocks, and then they just carry on. But
you just can never give up. That's the thing.
Yeah. People need to have that tenacity at it as well, but also adapting it to their style, because like you said, you have to change it to you.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'd have to do things like the push-ups and yoga first, because I know if I got out of bed and then tried to meditate first, my dumb ass probably fall asleep. So
there's different things you can do though. Like because if I put my headphones on while I'm in bed, I will fall asleep 100%.
Yeah.
So I literally get up, go to my living room, sit on the sofa, and sit upright and do it there. Because if I start slouching and meditate, I will fall asleep.
Yeah,
it's a given.
It's all in the execution.
It's all learned lessons.
Yeah. And how long would you say it took you to get into that routine? Because I know, like, the general rule of thumb, I think it's from a book, James Clear, I think he wrote it, called Atomic Habits. And the general rule from there is like, it takes 21 days to build a habit. So would you say it took around that time, less, more, to actually get yourself back into it?
This is an interesting one. If you have, this is going back to like Tony Robbins type thing.
What a man, by the way. Shout out to Tony if you're ever watching this one day. Because you're a legend.
Yeah, very true. So I've been through this Tony Robbins course that Kyle and I were talking about last night. And all my mates now, or a good portion of them, have been through it and gone through it multiple times. I recommend it. It's called Personal Power 2. Yeah. Tony Robbins course, 30-day course.
Nice.
And if you get enough leverage on yourself, you will make that change quicker. You can make the change instantly. So instead of trying to go like, maybe I should do that particular thing, and then going, okay, if it takes me 30 days, then it will become a habit, and then it will just be normal. But if you have enough leverage on yourself that if I don't freaking do this, X, Y, Z is going to happen.
Yeah, add a sense of urgency to it. Yeah. What it is, yeah.
Yeah, like link enough pain to not doing it and pleasure to doing it, you're going to do it regardless.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I've managed to do that, like I said earlier, but I've managed to do that in other areas. So when I wanted to start Shogun, for instance, like I was like, it's worth taking the risk, because me not trying to achieve that, or not trying to do it, or being stuck in the job that I didn't like is worse than failing to start the business. And how
would you feel if you carried on working in that job?
Yeah, fear the regret, not the failure. Yeah, and that's the mindset. But then applying that to other areas is then another thing you have to do. And that I like the phrasing of it, getting leverage on yourself.
Yeah, That's stolen straight from Tony Robbins' course.
Yeah, right. Bring the value, bro.
Absolutely, yeah.
Feel free to read it word for word, so you don't have to pay for it.
I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I think I definitely need to check it out, because there's so many things when you're, especially if you're trying to build a business solo and you're gathering a team around you. There's so many things that you feel like are all on your head. That just keep you in this constant state of like round and round anxiety. You need to fix this, need to fix this, but there's always something else. Yeah. So you at some point have to come to terms to it, with it, and that's something that you have to learn manually, I guess. Yeah. That you just have to go through it and figure out your process for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think business is just mindset. It's learning plus mindset. That's it. Yeah. I think that's all it comes down to, because if you want to, if you're like going back to the whole thing, if you want to learn anything, if you want to do something in business, all you do is learn how to do it. Now you can do it, and then you execute it. Yep. But you've got to have the mindset and belief that you can do it in the first place.
And I think a lot of people forget the amount of times in their life they've done that.
Yeah, that's very true.
But just not for certain things. Yeah. You did it to walk. Like, exactly. You did it to learn to eat, use a knife and fork.
Yeah, you didn't try and learn to walk once and go, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah, trust me. A lot of people don't give themselves enough credit, and then that comes down to self-confidence, right? And that's the thing of like, how do you pull yourself out of a place with bad self-confidence and move yourself into a place where you can get that leverage on yourself? And that can be like a multiple prong thing you have to tackle. And I think there's a lot of people in this world that don't value self-development and working on yourself. Like, I've always of the opinion that everyone should have a counselor or a therapist, but then people just get hung up in the expense of that, which I completely get, because I'm pretty sure it's like a minimum of like £50 an hour to have a counselor or a therapist. So I get it, but also just having a confidant or person you can use as that therapist, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you've got a good friend, you can talk about those things.
Yeah, a good friend, mentor as well. Yeah, so it's so powerful, because my mum recently qualified as a counsellor and therapist, and there's so much within it that, like, during her course and progress, she's taught me a ton of stuff. Like, my favourite one, which I've mentioned on the podcast before, is like dealing with negative thought processes on paper. So like when you failed at something, and you're like, and then you automatically start the slurs of insulting yourself, like, you're a fucking idiot, why'd you do it that way? You write it down in a speech bubble, and you draw lines from it, and you go, now logically justify why you just talk to yourself like that. Yeah. And then whenever you step out of it, you cannot figure out why you talked about yourself like that, because you wouldn't talk to your, like, a staff member or a friend or anyone else like that. Yeah. People need to really get off their own ass.
That's very true, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, would you ever say that to somebody else? Yeah. Probably not, unless they really pissed you off.
Yeah. but then there's a reason for it. But I love it, because it's almost intrinsically linked to when you write stuff down for affirmation's sake. Yeah. Like, there's just a power in writing stuff down and seeing it. Absolutely. Or creating mood boards and stuff like that. But absolutely, when you hear it, people go, that's fluffy, it won't work. But I'm like, have you tried it? Bloody do it.
I had a really good conversation with my mate, who actually owns this energy drink company.
Shout out to Excite.
Shout out to Excite. Shout out to
so
Ollie.
If you want to sponsor the show,
money's in the mail. About writing stuff down. Yeah. Because he was saying that when he used to be really on like the bodybuilding hype, first thing in the morning he'd write down exactly what he was going to eat and what time of the day he was going to eat it.
That's a great tactic.
And he said that he found that when he actually wrote it down, he fully stuck to it. Yeah. Which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's a subliminal commitment, isn't there?
Yeah, and I guess you're cementing it in. And we were talking about the whole thing about actually writing versus like typing on your phone or whatever. It literally takes there's 3 contact points, because it's like you're physically doing it, you're thinking it, and you're looking at it. Yep. Whereas on your phone, you could click random keys and you're just sort of looking at it. Well, I mean, you don't even need to look at it type thing. So it takes so much less brain power to type than it does to actually write something and have it legible, which is my main issue.
Yeah. As long as you can read your own hieroglyphics, that's fine, mate. Yeah. But I tell you what, that is almost, especially from a marketer's point of view, that is in itself a marketing technique, and we execute it every day. So the whole principle, people need to see your message up to 7 times for it to start to move into a consideration phase. And this is why remarketing and like actual like cold campaigns are extremely important. But actually that is almost marketing on yourself in a weird way, and cementing the messages you're trying to get through to you to buy into a lifestyle that you want. So it makes
total sense.
It's very interesting how we can just almost trick ourselves into doing stuff, and that like the phrase "fake it till you make it" kind of does work, especially when building confidence initially in certain areas.
There's an interesting thing about that whole "fake it till you make it" thing that I read. There's a book called The Magic of Believing. It's this little red book. Yeah, it has like tons of little stories in, and one of the things is like looking at yourself in the mirror, effectively looking inside yourself through your eyes, straight into your subconscious, and telling yourself something, and it just taps straight into your subconscious, and therefore you believe it a lot quicker.
Yeah, if you haven't been your own hype man in the mirror, like you need to. I've done that a few times actually. For when I know I've got big meetings, or I've just actually I tried it recently for when I've achieved something that I find like really big, and I immediately just look in the mirror and like, you did that, son. That's right. That's what we do.
Excellent.
It's so dumb, but you know what?
It's not dumb at all.
It's self-care in a way.
Yeah,
which is something that even in like, especially in like the kind of male communities, I guess we're quite bad with self-care historically, and just having a support group around us, because I think that's a big difference between like males and females. How girls are so much better at being a natural support group, whereas we're like the most sympathy.
Hold all the emotions in.
Yeah, the most sympathy you get.
Bottle everything up.
The most sympathy you'll get if something happens to you in a male group is, oh, that's deep. That's a bit shit, isn't it?
That's why you got to find a real good close friend group, because that's really what I've managed to dig into the past few years. Shout out to my mates.
Hey, shout out to the boys.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. I think it's key.
Yeah.
To have and to build and to actively try and build, I think is the other main thing.
Yeah, you actually have to go out and try. Like, this is something
you got to try.
Yeah, this is something I talked about when I brought my other half on the podcast. We were like, how do you go out and find new friends when you're not in the environment to do so anymore? So in school, college and uni, all of those environments are completely conducive to meeting new people all the time who are on a similar level to you that you can relate with. Whereas if you're not a big party or pub goer in your adult life, the only place you can meet people is work, or if you do have a hobby. So people that are like more home based, especially in the time of a pandemic, how do you make new friends? And it was like, you have to actively try. So you have to be that person that makes the first move. And especially for younger gens,
absolutely,
weird feeling, because you don't want to be that guy or that girl, but it actually can lead to some incredible things. And actually business networking has helped teach me that skill. Yeah. Because now I'm far less afraid, because I've been doing it for a certain purpose, and it's now allowing me to do it in my personal life, which has unlocked loads of doors. So it's almost thinking of it as a key. You're just trying to unlock a bunch of doors until one of them does, and then you've opened something amazing.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah, because I mean, it's just there's so many random times where I just walked up to someone random and it's just turned into a full-blown conversation. Yeah. Like I was saying to you the other day, like in Ibiza a few weeks back, and then we were just like in the pool on the bed thing, and I turned around to this guy and I was just like, hey, how's it going? And then just randomly asked him, by chance, have you ever taken on capital in your company? Yeah. Didn't even know if he ran a company. And he was like, oh yeah, we're on our 4th startup. We just taken on for like equivalent of 4 mil incredible cash capital. And I was just like, oh sweet. We were just at this pool party just talking about taking on capital in his company for about an hour or so. And then he literally sent me all the slide decks for his later on.
So valuable.
Shout out to Rasmus.
Rasmus,
Denmark.
the man.
What a sick name as well.
I know, right? Sounds biblical.
I'm sure that's a band, isn't it? The Rasmus?
I don't know.
Rasmus.
We'll have to just play the track over this. Just get us copyright slap. But that's really cool. And
it's just random stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the most successful co-working spaces operate on that principle. So like Sam from this lab, for instance, is amazing, and I'll call it the "Have you met Ted" principle. He'll just walk up and go like, "Have you met Ted?" and then just introduce you to someone, and that helps break open the barriers. How you met your mother reference. So that is something that's really, but you have to learn to do that for your personal life. Yeah. And that is it's like a lesson you have to learn yourself. And it also applies when you have to find mentors if you're in the business space, or even just career progression, because you have to kick down some doors, or just like message random people on LinkedIn, or just like asking people, do you know anyone I can learn from? Yeah. My dad always used to say, don't ask, don't get. You got to ask the question, and absolutely, and be the person to make the first move, or see if you can provide value in any way, especially if they're high net worth individuals, because you can learn so much from those kind of people. Like, you know firsthand, you just being around them can change your mindset in general.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I mean, that whole thing about if you don't ask, you don't get is like major key, and it's like, it's ridiculous.
And it's amazing how simple all of these principles that we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's just it is. I'll give you a random example. Like when I came back from the airport parking, right? I went to drive out, right, and the little price thing comes up, and it was like 364 quid. I was like, what the hell? I've got a screenshot of it. I took a picture of it on my phone. I was like, I'm not paying that. Like, that's just not right.
I'd sleep here for that. No way.
And I pressed the buzzer thing, and the guy was like, oh yeah, you know, you got to pay it, whatever. And I was like, is there anything that you can do?
Yeah.
Like, can you reduce that somehow, please?
Yeah.
Like, please, thank yous. 40 quid I paid. So I was like, oh no, 53 quid including VAT.
That's a lovely saving, that.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, I could just pay this, but I don't want to pay that. I'm going to chat with the guy, build rapport, and it's just over the little like intercom system thing. So it just applies to so many things. Like,
that is mad.
Blag your way through life.
Honestly, just blagging, and actually, like, because this is the thing for people who need to build up their communication skills in general. Like,
I think that's such a missed thing these days.
I talked about it on the second episode of the podcast. There's a guy who's an osteopath and a high level performance coach named Ian. So knowledgeable. He's been there, done that. He's worked with some incredible people. And one of the things he talks about is you can get so much further in life by having a high EQ, so emotional intelligence, rather than a high level of normal intelligence. Yeah. Because there's just a level of like negotiation, understanding signals and people that you can just break into more places. Yeah. Even if you're not the smartest guy in the room. I mean, whenever we look at like entrepreneurial examples, there's very rare occasions where the person that makes the incredible product is also the person that makes the company, if it's very tech based, for instance. Yeah. Because like you know, full well, Bezos did not come up with with all of the tech solutions that power Amazon today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Jack Ma's another one that's just very obvious. It's like, just hire people smarter than you. I'm dumb as shit.
Well, it makes so much sense, doesn't it? Like, yeah, like why would you spend your whole life learning something very specific when you could hire someone who has already spent their whole life doing it, and that's their dream?
Yeah, you know? And you can find those people and build a rapport with those people and get them aligned with your vision and dream with the power of communication. Yeah, and absolutely, it's a skill to learn, and you can constantly develop it. And it's like a muscle you have to keep training. But again, there's no like course on it. Like, they're not in schools anyway. I think there should definitely be more of a mainstream presence for teaching business and communication skills as a full-blown lesson. Yeah. Like, I want to do public
just communication. Jesus. Like,
yeah.
I was an awkward little fuck at school. I remember I had to. I remember I was maybe like 17, 18 or something, and I was like, something's got to change, because like I just don't feel like I could go up and like approach anyone, let alone like go approach a girl. Yeah, it's always the girls that inspire us in life. It's just crazy. So I just went on like a journey of like forcefully building confidence. Like, that was like my main thing for like 6 months, and finally then like started to push out of it. You get so much weird rejection, but you just have to fucking deal with it. Yeah, honestly. And then you look back on it and go, it's really not that bad, is it? Like, no, well, you develop a strong sense of self after the fact, but you have to go through the ring of fire first, because there's certain things that can push you through it. Yeah. Because I remember one of my first sales jobs at Foot Locker. Back in the day, spent like 3-4 years at Foot Locker. I loved it in the end, but when I was first there, I was like on the verge of like crying in the car, on the bus, going, oh, I don't want to do it, I've got to talk to people. And then you feel the pressure of like, I've got KPIs, I've got selling souls. Yeah. And it seems silly now, but by the time I'd gone through it and learned those skills and actually just built up the courage to go, do you want to buy this? And then you figure out style, and you're like, okay, I'm getting into this. Yeah. And you start seeing the wins. What works with people. Yeah, and the micro wins build momentum. I feel like a lot of people are trying to go for the heavy hit wins automatically off the bat, whereas they need to focus on micro momentum first. That's very true. I'm a sucker to that as well. Yeah. It goes back to giving yourself more credit for stuff, I think. Exactly. Yeah. And by the time I came out of it, I'm pretty sure I was still the record holder in that store for the most insults sold in the day. So then I found a passion for it. I was like, I'm good at this. Yeah. And then it comes down to the mirror thing. You hype yourself up and you're like, yes, literally, you got this. And if it wasn't for Foot Locker,
I would not.
Shout Foot Locker.
Yeah, I know. I feel like Foot Locker's taught me more than my marketing career, genuinely.
Yeah.
Just as that core fundamental that brought me as far as humanly possible. And it's amazing the lessons you can learn in places that wouldn't necessarily be for the job we're gunning after. I say this for a lot of people that are coming up as marketing grads.
Yeah.
Because I used to put together, for the question you always get asked in an interview, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Instead of just jumbling through a random mess of your life, I'm like, no, you have a full presentation ready on your journey in your career that you know is going to answer all of the basic questions they have for the first interview. And one, no one's doing that, so they're just going to have their socks knocked off already. But you then get to paint a narrative around the stuff that wouldn't be as important. And this is where communication comes back into it. So I used to say, I worked at Foot Locker, Virgin Media, and then, where was it? Well, I did a little stint at Sports Direct, but that was terrible. But I wrapped up all of my sales roles. Oh, Samsung. I wrapped up all of my sales roles, and I was like, if I'm honest with you, out of all of the marketing experience I've got, this taught me the most. Because it gave me a whole 9 days worth of combined sales experience for dedicated, talking about people's mindsets and sales training, anything like that. It's taught me to push past barriers, overcome this. And you get to paint this picture of who these jobs made you become.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one's really seen it like that, because if you just read it on the CV, it's like, why do I care if you've worked at Foot Locker? You're here for a marketing exec role. Why did you even put this on here? Whereas now, after that story and that narrative, that is more relevant than the other stuff.
So you're basically saying, like, I worked at Foot Locker for X number of years, and this taught me this, and ultimately I then became this person because of it.
Yeah, and then it's a presentation that allows you to unroll the narrative as a progression. So people see the journey you go on from sales roles to marketing roles to wherever you came from. And this really helps transform experience that wasn't relevant before into something that can be a pillar of your story.
Yeah. That's very good advice.
Yeah, thank you. And there's another principle my dad taught me, actually, and he just said you have to treat yourself like a business of one, even if you're going in for job interviews and careers, and that keeps a strong sense of self and allows you to paint that narrative more confidently. Never lost a job interview because of it, so it works.
Shout out to Change's dad.
I know. Taught me a lot, that man. But yeah, it's seriously valuable.
Yeah.
And one thing that is always come up for me recently with Shogun is, our first year in business has just finished, which I promise I'm going to put something out on social for that. Thank you.
Mega first year.
I know. Well, some people do millions in the first year. Don't play the comparison game, people. It's not working out well for me. It's in my head.
Some people fail.
Yeah, some people do. You have to be grateful. Again, grateful. If I'd have written that on the whiteboard, would have been a different story.
You need a tattoo on your hand that says, I am grateful for.
Love that. I didn't even know that's what that said. Fair play. Train of thought. Yeah, I need to. So I'm working on building a network and surrounding myself with people like yourself who have just been in the game for a while, killing it, and just doing amazing things. But that actually takes time if you have no contact book. Yeah. And that's something that a lot of people underestimate, and how much people play a factor in your business development. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what's some of the amazing lessons you've learned that are like, when you just have those like trigger point moments of holy shit, like what are some of the bits you've learned from mentors and people with more experience than yourself? Endless list of things probably, but what are some of your favourites that you're allowed to give away on the show?
Things that like mentors have said to me.
Yeah, there's little simple things that can completely change your outlook on things. You probably covered a fair few already.
Oh, I can't think of any that just randomly spring to my head right now.
Things like work-life balance, or like if they're to do with building the business itself. Because I know you mentioned one the other day about how one of the very successful people you talked to actually said, I wish I'd balanced things more.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, so that we were having a very interesting conversation with a very wealthy individual whilst on holiday, and yeah, it was just really interesting in terms of him saying that he wished he'd worked less.
Yeah, which is a strange thing.
Which was a mind-blowing thing to hear.
Especially from where he's at. And
that he wished that he had stayed and had more fun than gone like back to wherever and gone for that business meeting that didn't actually mean anything in the end. So that was really interesting. and that ultimately then led on to me and my mate then talking about work-life balance a lot more.
Yeah.
And I had a really good conversation with Kyle about this last night as well, like in terms of work, you think that working non-stop will get you to your goal quicker.
Yeah.
That may be the case, but will you enjoy it? And then when you hit that goal, you're like, oh, great, I've hit the goal. Like, what was that really for? Because if you don't enjoy the process along the way, because I've been a sucker to it, like even recently, earlier this year and stuff like that, just like working non-stop, and then you burn out, and then you're like, what am I doing all this for?
Yeah.
And then, but when you go back and you reset all your goals, but then when you have like your balanced day as well, you only have a set time to work, force yourself to work within that time and delegate other things so that you have more time to work on stuff that matters.
Yeah. Is it the Pomodoro technique where like you assign time to things? I think there's a normal principle out there, which is just like you always complete a task in the time you actually assign to do it.
Exactly.
So you could assign yourself 2 hours, or you could assign yourself 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I bet you'll still get it done.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
That's the exact conversation we were having.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, I'm sure you found it before, where like you've had to leave for somewhere and you've only got like 45 minutes to go, but you've got 3 tasks to do.
Yeah.
Those 3 tasks probably would have taken you 3-4 hours or whatever if you'd given yourself 3-4 hours. But if you gave yourself 45 minutes, you fucking get them done in 45 minutes.
Creating simulated senses of urgency throughout your day that can help boost productivity. It's a really powerful tool, but it's all a self-discipline thing. Actually, listening to that, because I've been trying it, and there's been days where I'll stick to it and be like quite good at it. There'll be other days where I'll just ignore the barriers that I've set, and then I get distracted with something else. So, but I think life might always be like that. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to stick to something properly because of my ADHD brain. But it's just everyone's got to find their way of tackling things, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying the other day, like, if you forcefully closed your computer at the time that you said that you'd finish work, then the next day your brain would be like, oh, he's going to close the computer at 4 o'clock. Yeah. I best freaking get all this stuff done.
Yeah.
But then I think if you were the person to close it, you may go, another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would carry on. So if there was like a timer that you couldn't unset that like turn your computer off or something like that.
Yeah, for the programmers out there, they probably have the capability
of that. Like kills the battery or something.
Yeah, set a rule on it to just shut down all systems. Which is risky business that. But yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Because actually this is an interesting thing. So I found that I've been spending more time on my phone when I'm working. And there's absolutely no reason, like my phone doesn't equate to me working. I'm just like doing random shit on it. So what I've bought, I can't remember if I told you this, was like
a little lockbox for your
phone.
The
lockbox thing. Yeah. So I got a lockbox and it's got like a little thing on it. You set like 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 hour, 1 minute or whatever. And you click it and then your phone's locked in there. And my productivity has gone through the roof.
So good.
Because the amount of times you find yourself walking back around in the kitchen or whatever, wherever your phone is, and going, oh, it's still locked. Shit. Let's get that to work.
It's a nice reminder
really
of the barriers you set yourself, isn't it, as well? Alongside it's obviously capability to lock the phone away. That is super cool. There are so many little things like that.
You get that discipline going.
Yeah, because eventually it may be a habit of that discipline.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Yeah, but it's that eventually part that people need to push past.
Yeah, and it's just having that forceful thing to get through it, because I don't have enough leverage on myself to like not keep it there at the moment. Actually, that's one thing that I do need to look at, really. If I carry on going on my phone, what will happen? You'll get less work done. Yeah,
absolutely. It's about creating those what if situations, I guess, to keep you motivated and everything like that. But it's all of this is so interesting to me because everyone has slightly different problems to tackle, and I find that everyone's individual circumstances can make things very, very difficult. So, for instance, like I'm not trying to focus on weight loss at the moment alongside building the business, but I'm finding that my passion for building the business is so strong right now because things are going very well.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I feel like if I step away, the whole thing's going to blow up. So then I don't focus on the other goal that I want to focus on. But I'm normally ravenous on one goal at a time. So like I to try and do two is messing with me. But that's why the forced self-discipline of time management via your calendar or however best you work needs to happen. And it is so interesting how everyone has a slightly different dynamic when it comes to that. But I like what you said earlier about writing down food. I feel like that's something that I can definitely try out from now on.
Yeah, because I think as well with like food or anything like that, like you can systemize a lot of other goals. So like if you had a goal, okay, I wanted to get to this weight, whatever, for example, you can then work backwards and go, okay, how much food do I need to eat in the day? And then literally only put that food in front of you. Yeah. Because that's what I find is if I have the food in front of me at the desk, I'll eat everything on my desk. Not literally everything on my desk, but like all the food that I put on my desk, I'll eat it without realizing. Yeah. So when I have stuff in the cupboards, I don't eat it. So, and that's why I have meal prep. So it's, as we were saying before, like it's a certain set number of calories that I just eat in the day. Obviously, some days I'm gonna, get takeaway or whatever. But for the majority of the time, I'm eating to something very specific, and it's just systemized. It just gets delivered. So you can systemize a lot of other stuff, so you don't have to think about it so much. As people need to start creating. Yeah, people need to start creating their own custom systems for different areas of their life. Yeah, because we think about it in business terms a lot, and it's like easy to create a system for your team or like processes that you can put in place to then things are going the way you need them to. But actually applying that to personal life is just there's so many principles that we apply elsewhere that we don't realize we can apply to our personal life as well. And you're a perfect example of how that's done, which is really cool to see. Yeah, cheers. I just enjoy doing systems. Yeah. I think another thing that I realized as well is I hired a COO for my latest company, Chief Operations Officer. But
education,
I realized, as well as I really enjoy making systems and processes. Yeah. SOPs. Yeah. So, and that has been like how I've been able to scale a lot of stuff and then take myself out of things. Yep. Is because of systems and processes. Like,
so powerful.
Yeah. And it can be as simple as like just recording a video. Like we just use Loom now and just like record a video. Here's how to do this. Click, click, click. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. 2-minute video, done. And then that may be like a 5-minute thing per day for someone to look at, like team member or whatever. And then they're able to learn that for life instead of
and keep it and rewatch it as well.
Shoulder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because you could be.
Then they don't have to ask you over and over again about questions
and double check whether they're doing it right or not. Yeah, that's like something, especially in marketing. I think they need a lot of in terms of internal training because you kind of learn stuff through repetition and then leaning on whoever the senior management was in there to double check if you're doing it correctly. Yeah, but if you'd have just pressed one Chrome extension, you could have solved that problem. So again, it's just thinking of it in terms of systems.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess, a sort of non-business analogy is like a recipe. Like you follow a recipe to make a cake. Like if you just tried to guesstimate at it, your cake would taste like shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, like you'd never get the outcome.
Yeah, you can't mess around with baking. You can get a little shifty in the kitchen for cooking like that and get mix up the spice. You don't have to measure stuff. But you can't do it with cakes. Yeah. And like I feel like businesses are kind of like cakes in that regard. Like
if you want to get a consistent result every time based on something you've already done, create a system, a process out of it. Yeah. And that's it. And that's the same thing with anything. Like my Sundays now, like I have a process. How sad does that sound? I have like a process of like how to unwind. Like,
it's whatever works for you. Yeah. Like it makes 100% sense because like some people would phrase that as a routine. Some people phrase it as like a habit. But yours is just phrased as a system. I think it's all kind of the same thing.
I have to follow a 3-step process. But like going through my goals, resetting the week, figuring out what I'm going to do that week, all that kind of stuff is just, Oh, and then as well as actually, this is probably something important. So I do like a daily journal before I go to bed every night. Yep. So I like write the date. I write down what's happened that day, what I'm grateful for, what I didn't do so well, what I can improve on, and then I rate the day out of 10. And then on Sundays I go back and
check the median score.
Yeah, I look at it all and I go, okay, what was good and what did I say I should improve on? Now let me set those improvements that I said as my goals for this week. So you're you're getting constant improvement and feedback from yourself.
Love that.
The whole time.
Love that.
And the act of writing it down, that's the other thing.
I love the discipline in place to do that, because I've tried daily journaling.
Yeah.
But there's been days where I go overboard and I'm writing 1 or 2 pages worth of journal, and then it becomes unsustainable the next day because I've worked too late, and then I haven't given myself a chance to do but that's because I didn't set up a system to, give myself time to do that. And there's like,
what do you mean, like you went to bed too late, you mean? Or?
Yeah, so I worked too late. Yeah. Didn't give myself the time to unwind and give myself time to write the journal.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm finished with my work day, I can do nothing but crash and just eat and sleep. And then that again, because I didn't put those barriers in the first place, that's why I couldn't continue that in terms of discipline. Or you could just force yourself to do it and push past that barrier if it's really helping improve what you're doing.
So I had that exact thing where some days I was like, nah, I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But I used the Tony Robbins thing. I got leverage on myself to now do it every single night.
Yeah.
And now I do it even if I'm like basically asleep. If I haven't done it, I'll go, no, you need to do that, because ultimately I want to become the best version of myself that I can. And I'm not going to get that way by just nodding off to sleep and then not thinking and being grateful for what I did in that day or whatever.
Yeah.
And writing it down so I have like a log of it, basically.
So cool.
It's all just about getting leverage on yourself with things that you want to do.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm definitely going to check out that Tony Robbins course after this.
Oh, it's sick. I think he's made a fair bit of money in the past like 3 days. From the people.
Sounds like it was bloody worth it, though, to be fair. There's just certain things that are worth paying for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't invest in themselves in that way. Like I said earlier, some people don't invest in a counsellor or self-improvement in terms of looking at Tony Robbins or even books or anything like that.
So that's another point as well. Like, when people see like a course that's say like $1,000, they'll go, oh, let me try and download it online, or I'll find it for like £10 on some scam website or some shit.
Yeah.
So that I used to do exactly that, but then I never went through the course.
Yeah.
And if you're then invested in that course, if you paid $1,000 of your own money, you bet your fucking ass you're gonna go through the actual course and actually get the value from it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing as well. It's like,
it's a monetary and mind commitment.
Yeah, instead of like asking your mate like, oh, can you send me that course? And then you probably never go through it, or you go through the first 2 modules or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're actually physically invested in it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Which I think is important to
no doubt, and especially if it aligns
leverage
with
on yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially if it aligns with your goals. I think that's one thing where, like, because I've been so focused on everything to do with business, other goals have suffered because I've been so tunnel visioned.
Yeah,
and especially when you're first starting and things are actually gaining traction, and you trying to turn down that fire of like working overtime, but I don't care because we're getting somewhere, and turning that passion off is extremely difficult without the right methodology. And so maybe you can never quite turn it off.
No.
But even to like when you, because it constantly feels these days like this, I'm in a good flow state at the moment. And it, like, for me, flow state is always something that's tough to get into, but once you're into it, it's fine. It's like, now how this podcast is just smoothly rolling. Yeah, it's like you don't want to disturb that. And sometimes when I think about routine, I'm like, routine just interrupts the flow I was already on. So I have a bad relationship with it. So I then have to fix that first before I then try and address and create my own. But maybe it's a case of I use some other methods, like maybe physical signifiers that I've got to do something, like post-it notes in front of me, in front of the desk, for instance. That's something physical instead of like an app or anything like that. Prompts me to do certain things. Like I have to try multiple methods to find mine. But yeah, turning off that, like, I'm going to get this done.
Why don't you do other things before you get into your flow state?
Yeah,
because then if you had things that you wanted to do, I don't know, whatever they are, because when you wake up you're not in a flow state immediately, you know. If you then did those other things that you knew that you needed to do for you know, your health or your well-being, your mindset, whatever, and then you're like, okay, that's done, I feel good that I've actually accomplished that. Now let me get in the flow state. It doesn't matter if a minute all evening because I've done the other shit. Yeah,
literally this week has been going quite well for that. At the start of the week, I actually decided to make a TikTok on like recording like weight loss journey and stuff. Find it very difficult to make one like 3-minute TikTok a day.
Yeah.
It's bloody difficult to record everything and edit it, but it's fine. We're sticking with it. But yeah, actually trying to transfer myself into a morning person is the biggest challenge for me right now. Because I'm always a work till 2 a.m. kind of guy.
Okay.
And then, and that's where I feel like I get my best ideas from. But actually, to progress with other goals, I need to make that transference of where I allocate my time. I need to wake up before anyone else is here, do my stuff before the day starts. Because if I do run away with the day, then it's fine because I have nothing to do after the fact.
Yeah.
And
that's really interesting because
I used
to be like that as well.
Yeah.
When I was first starting like my main businesses when I was a lot younger, I used to do the same thing. I used to fucking just stay up super late.
Yeah, I just
become a night owl.
Yeah,
because it was quiet. I think and no one else was bothering me.
Yeah, like I feel like my work day starts once everyone else's finishes. Like, and that's where I can then do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But how did you manage to transfer?
To be honest, I'm still trying to do it because I'm still going to bed at midnight and I'm like actually going to bed at like 10.
Yeah.
But then, I try and go to bed at 10.
Yeah.
But then,
just phones.
I try and go to bed at like 9:30. Because if I go to bed at 9:30, I get 8 hours in bed. Then I can wake up nice and early in the morning and then get shit done before anyone else wakes up.
That's always the plan.
That's the plan. But, you go out for a meal with your mates or whatever, you get in at 11, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's totally messed it up now. That's the only thing. So I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I get terrible what I call bedtime procrastination. Like once I've worked a mad day, once I get back, I now want to reclaim my evening. So now all of my fun stuff I do, I'm like, no, I'm not going to bed yet. And it's like your inner child comes out and stomps his feet. You go, no, I don't want to go to bed. So it's about fighting that, but I'm always jealous of people that were natural morning people.
Yeah.
Because they just have the game figured out as naturally inclined. And I have no idea how to...
I think that comes down to back to the thing about like shutting your computer off at the time you say.
Yeah. Because
then if you shut your computer, for example, or shut your laptop at 8 p.m, for example, and you were like, shit, it's 7:30, like I've got half hour left, let me do the most important tasks for today instead of let me just do the little D tasks, D grade tasks that then will take you till 11 o'clock. That's fine, I can do that tomorrow, or I can delegate that out.
Yeah.
Literally shut your laptop. 8 o'clock, right, I've got like a few hours before I need to go to bed now I can do cool shit. Because if you don't have that in a day and you keep pushing that away, fun stuff away, it just becomes a groundhog day and a grind, and then you don't enjoy the journey.
It really does.
When it just compounds over a series of years, it's not fun.
Literally the groundhog day analogy is a good one.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to work weekends, especially, and it's like there's none of that pause in between that you need.
I really have to force myself not to work weekends.
Yeah, it's so tough
like
as well.
Half days, I compromise with myself. Half day. Half Saturday you can work. The rest of the day you have to go do something fun.
Yeah, it's just about forcing yourself to do it. Like I must have, like, what fuels you a lot in business can depend on your background, and for me it's just like having a huge chip on my shoulder from my background. And sometimes I phrase businesses, whoever has the biggest chip wins, and it's like who's going to put in more hours. Because the thought used to bug me, especially in the early days of the business, like as soon as you stop working, there's someone else working harder than you at this exact thing. And it plagues on your mind so much. It really does. But then you've got to go like, listen, this is my limit. I might be able to do things during the day that they can't. So it's like, you can't compare yourself to this invisible person.
No, but then it just becomes about working smarter, not harder. So this is actually something that this guy was saying when we were in Ibiza about, like, he wishes instead of like going home to a business meeting, work smarter at stuff, not harder, not put more hours in. Delegate out to the right people, or put a system in place so that you don't have to do it. Things like that. Yeah, that's really interesting.
That's a whole learning curve. But even trusting to delegate as well. That's another thing. Even if you hire someone that's qualified, sometimes you still don't want to let go of it.
Yeah,
you're just like, no, I'll do it. I've always done it. You just talk yourself into it, and you're like,
that's the thing, because you always think that I can do it better than everybody else.
Yeah. Even if you probably couldn't, you just thought yourself into it.
True.
But I think that's just the nature of having a business, because a business is a bit like a baby, isn't it? Just in terms of like, that's yours. You want to look after it, and eventually you can hand it over to whoever's going to take care of it and trust them and train them.
Yeah, it is just trusting them. But ultimately, like, think how many mistakes you made to get to that point. They still need to make a bunch of mistakes to get as good as you. So, but obviously the thing is, you're paying them to make mistakes. So then it becomes like, But ultimately, you just got to look at how much free time does that free up. Not just like free time, I can go ride my bicycle, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like free time to now focus on higher level things in the business that's actually going to drive more revenue and take you towards your goal.
Yeah.
Instead of working in the business, you were now working on the business. I think that was something I didn't get for a very long time.
It's such a mad transition, and you can do things where you'll pull yourself back into it, and then you have to like claw your way back out again. There is going to be a constant push and pull, especially as a business develops and new stuff comes in. You've got to come back in and make sure you're there to foster things. And it is. But you know what? I just wouldn't change it any other way. It's just like every single day, it's just like, fuck it, something new, brilliant. Let's have it.
That's it. Well, as long as you enjoy it, that's
and that's the thing. I hope I never get to a point where I don't enjoy it. But so far, it's been the best.
But then when you don't enjoy it, you start doing something different. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You just learn something different. And do that.
And because you've proved to yourself you can do it in this area of life. Yeah. Whatever you put your mind to next, easy. We got it. We got this. And it all comes down to those affirmations and all the things that you do that I think many people and myself need to start instituting in life more.
I'll tell you one thing I've done recently, because starting my latest company, I then had a bunch of things in my head, like when I wasn't doing my morning routine and stuff, of like, can I do it again? Yeah. Is that a one-hit wonder? Even though it's not. But like, you get self-doubt come in your head.
They come from somewhere.
So then, I can't remember where I read it, but basically it was like, look at all your previous past wins.
Yep.
So what I've done is like, I've collected like screenshots of like my best days, like best financial days, best months and stuff like that.
Yep.
Put it all together in a little thing that I can then just look at. And then you're like, oh shit, like you've actually done that in the past.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking, oh, can I do that? Well, yeah, you've done 10x that before, so why the fuck can't you do it? Why can't you 10x that?
You're goddamn right. Yeah. I love that.
Exactly. So, and then your brain's like, oh yeah, you're just being stupid.
Yeah. It's like the negative thought processor thing.
Yeah.
You put it down and you got to justify it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, why the hell would I think that?
Yeah.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
No need. I've got this. And this can be in career basis as well, because it's like it's easier to think of it in business terms and quantify those wins. But what are the little things at work? When did you take over a situation and smash it? Like it may not be something that you have recorded down.
Yeah,
it could be something that you can write up or visualize on Canva or something. However you just like to communicate. Build that for yourself, like because you deserve that kind of thing. You deserve that time and that self care to yourself.
Yeah,
which is really important, and more people need to do it. Work-life balance, self-care, really affirmating what you want to be. Hey, there's another Joe Rogan reference here, but one of my favorite quotes from him was like, "You need to be the hero of your own story."
Yeah,
and you know, it sounds fluffy, but that really did hit me, because I was like, "Holy shit! Like, why am I not living life like I'm the main character here?"
Yeah.
And I was like, because I obviously love video games and all that stuff anyway. I'm like, why didn't I think of that in the first place? When he said it, I'm like, whenever I'm doing something, I was like, is this something for the memoirs? Is it?
The world really does revolve around you.
It does. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember my mum used to say, the world doesn't revolve around you. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it does.
That's my only frame of reference.
Yeah, so. because every single person is in their own world. Yeah. You can't always give, because then you'll never have anything. So you got to be selfish sometimes. Yeah. And it's not even about being selfish, really. It's just about, okay, where do I want to go? Okay, in my world, you know.
Yeah, and be selfish with your time, if anything.
Oh yeah, that's a huge fucking thing. Isn't it?
Learning to say no is a whole different skill in itself.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm always grateful for people to come on the show, because it could have been easy, like something that's not on a priority list, but actually it's really good collaboration.
Yeah, well, I just enjoy talking about stuff like this.
Yeah,
it's rare as well, because there's so many people who you try and have a conversation with,
and they just don't get it.
I just can't fully talk to the,
yeah.
There's a set expiry time before
we're
how
done.
good the weather is and stuff like that.
Weird figure I saw the other day. Apparently, if you address the weather the first thing in a business meeting, the chance of converting whatever that is actually goes up by 2 in England. I don't know why.
The chance of converting.
So let's say if it's a business meeting,
yeah.
If you address the weather and use that as an icebreaker, apparently from the British, that's something we like.
Is it because you just build rapport and common ground immedately? Thing? Oh yeah, the weather is crap today. You're right.
And it's so fucking boring, but for some reason it still works. So you get certified hood classics that will still work.
I guess that is it, isn't it? Yeah, instant rapport.
Yeah, because you can't establish if you're going to have good chemistry with someone, if it's like a potential client or even just someone to collaborate with off the bat, right? Their response to the boring question of how's the weather can actually tell you a lot about who they are. If it's a simple, well, yeah, it's a bit shit, then you can tell this might be a bit of a cut and dry session. They may be more analytical, they maybe have their mind other places. But then if they respond to it in a nice way or maybe share a story about it, you can tell they're more open. You can tell so much about how they answer the question.
Next time you ask me how the weather,
just psychologically analysing you.
But that's a really good point.
Yeah, there's so many, like, I remember I really dived down the rabbit hole once of analysing what's it called? Techniques when you're looking body language.
NLP and all that.
Yeah, just looking at body language and the power of like mirroring in a session, for instance, and like matching rhythms and like all of this stuff. It can be extremely powerful, but also controlling the flow of a meeting based on your actions. So for instance, when I use the whiteboard a lot for our sales meetings, and normally when we're sat down, this is where you're relatable. This is where you're similar in body shape and contrast, and you're making actions that relate to them. But then using a prop like a book or a whiteboard can then shift the momentum of something to be in your favor. And actually dictate the flow of the meeting, and they can get involved in this mini show you're creating. And you can even do it with the hands. So everyone who's watched this knows I like to paint pictures with my hands, and actually that can make a world of difference. And then it's just, and even from a handshake, there's so much you can tell.
Oh, that fucking fishy flop handshake, I can't stand it. You can spot an unsuccessful business person by their handshake, can't you? Jesus.
Yeah.
Although these days it's more of a fist bump, isn't it?
Yeah, fist bump, elbow bumps. Don't know. I've gone back to handshakes.
Yeah.
Vaccinated, so why not? It's just one of those things that you can tell a lot by someone, and you don't have to look at these levels of detail all the time. But like if you're in a B2B setting and it requires some kind of sales etiquette, it's like
you unconsciously
build subconscious rapport before you build the outward rapport. And there's so much you can do.
I tell you what, I can't trust anyone who has a weak handshake. I'm serious. I'm sure you've experienced it where you like it's a fishy flop handshake. I'm like, sketchy motherfucker.
I could also tell like this is
but a confident handshake, you're like, this guy knows what's up. Or girl.
Yeah.
Some girls have very good handshakes. Others.
Well, because they got to go above and beyond sometimes to prove themselves in the world of business and meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
So they've got to come out with strong handshakes. I mean,
I think it's essential.
I can always tell how much older someone is than me based on handshake, and also how they approach the handshake. So me being the colour that I am, some people just decide to, instead of just doing that, they just go, "Hey, what's up, brother?" And they hand me one of those, and I'm like, now, did you just see I'm black and offered me one of those because you think I wanted it? Or do you do this to everyone? And I look at him, it's just like a middle-aged white dude with bald head, and I'm like, nah, you don't do that to everyone. You just did that to me. But yeah, I always find that funny.
That's cool.
But I'm like,
I wish people
he's
did
down.
That to me, what's up, man?
Because that can break down a lot of barriers as well.
Yeah.
Like, just an odd...
it's quite an intimate thing.
Yeah,
we do it with my close friends,
Yeah, it's definitely
a brand new business acquaintance.
Yeah, it's
that's
weird.
Probably not something I would do.
It's weird, but like there's little things I like to do to like break down barriers more. So if I've got a wider training session, because we do a lot of training and workshops for wider businesses, if there's like 20 people in the room and you're stood at the front, instead of doing the uni lecturer thing, I just run round with a fist bump going, come on, get here, da. And it's like a kind of a crowd participation thing. Very much the Tony Robbins vibe when he's getting into the crowd and he's going from each side of the stage. That participation is really important.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hard to do that in Zoom meetings though, but that's like a whole different bag on how you engage, and you just hear the silence like, what does everyone think?
Well, I love my ideas, so
well, moving on swiftly. But it's good that physical meetings coming back, and it's good that we can have conversations like this in person in our improv studio. And shout out to EcoLabs for always being an amazing host of this place and allowing us to use all the equipment. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's killer. I mean, tell me about how you've met mentors then in the past, because there's systems like, for instance, Barclays EcoLabs. They offer a system where you can go out and essentially pick from all of the top mentors from lots of different places, from Cambridge Judge School of Business, Codebase, like absolutely amazing talent here, there, and everywhere, and a wealth of experience. But for those who aren't in somewhere like that, how have you managed to find mentors in the past?
Well, if I was starting new now, I would go find my local Barclays EcoLabs, go down there, sign up.
The power of co-working spaces is actually crazy today. Seriously underrated.
It is mad, and go get a free mentor through that. That is the easiest and quickest way, I would say.
Yeah, even reaching out to business incubators that are like not someone as big as a Barclays, they will have something like this, and try and establish that as your main route in, because they'll want you to come into the space anyway. So even if you have to play I'm interested in mentors, can I maybe have a taste? And then they go, yeah, sure. Just don't ask, don't get principle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think, that, like, the mentor Marco that I have through EagleLabs is just, he's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Shout out to Marco if you're watching.
Hey, big Marco.
Oh, it's just, priceless like information, and you have to be very, very picky and choosy with the questions you're going to ask. Don't ask dumb questions. So I really think about the questions I want to ask my mentors beforehand, because I don't want to waste their time. And if they feel like I'm wasting their time, then they're not then going to answer my questions. They'll cut you off. So the ways that I found other mentors, that's an interesting one. They've sort of just come about through networking. It's always been through networking. So for example, I went to a private mastermind event in my industry in SEO in Thailand, and I wasn't actually meant to go to it. It was quite funny actually. It was through, I'm not going to say the company name just in case they fob me off, but we still use them. Basically they sell websites, right? And I put a deposit down on a website that was like over $1 million, and I put it on my credit card. It was like 10 grand deposit, just so I could like see what the website was and understand what that business was and how they were working.
Yeah,
bit cheeky. But then that put me on their VIP list of people who wanted to buy sites over $1 million.
Nice.
Subsequently, I then got invited 2 weeks later to their private mastermind at this ridiculous villa in Thailand. With all these other people who were buying sites over $1 million and who'd sold sites for over $1 million. So I shouldn't have really got invited to it, but that elevated me to the next level, and that's when I met one of my mentors. Who then became my business partner. Well, business partner and mentor basically. So that was a huge thing. Then from there, I then got invited to another private mastermind, where I then became friends with another guy, and we were just chatting because we're in the same industry like this. You just start talking and you build rapport with someone, and then you ask for their details and say, hey, just like a chick, like, hey, we had a nice time tonight, can I keep in contact with you? Totally. It's the same concept, and then you just keep in touch. And then I think the key though, it's different with Marco, because obviously he's said, hey, I want it to be a mentor type thing. But with other people who could then develop into mentors, is sending them information that they would want to know, if that makes sense, because it can't be all take.
Yeah, you have to provide value in some way. I literally did that for our first mentor through Barclays. Like, she was extremely helpful. Babita Devi, she's an amazing coach, like 25 years experience. And we got talking, and I literally basically did a full social session with her on her various brands that she has alongside her coaching before she'd even start coaching me.
There you go.
It's developing high income skills to be able to provide something to people that are already high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
So if you don't already know something, try and upskill to provide at least a little bit of value to anyone who it is, essentially. Because it can be a place where if you're in e-com, for instance, it's not service based, so it's like, what do I provide or something like that. So even just the smallest insight can change the game. Or things like inviting them onto a podcast to help build their personal brand. You can use little sales tactics and ins to actually provide value to them, to give them content or give them something.
Absolutely. And I think, like, if you know what people want, like if you know what your mentor's business is, you know where they want to get to, if you then find a blog post that's talking about the same thing, even if they've read it before, it's like, oh,
you've
that's
made
nice.
The effort.
Tom's actually sent me that. That's cool of him, you know. Now I feel like, oh, okay, I need to sort of help him out a little bit. Or now when I come with a question that's very strategic and it's a single question and it's easy for them to answer, I frame it in that way, then I'm going to get the result that I need from it.
Yeah. Approach it the same way you'd approach a mutual business acquaintance. But then obviously, there's a ton of value behind it. Yeah. And actually, I think there's a sense of like respect they'll get for you if you approach it in terms of like, let's imagine we're on even pegging, even if we aren't. I'm going to treat you like if we were on the same level. And I think that's something that they probably find quite refreshing.
Yeah.
Because people who are in the millions probably get just people try and take from them all day. Yeah. So it's a very refreshing approach to things for them. And it's just using any methods you can, because obviously showing your ingenuity there shows them that you're really about it as well.
I think another thing as well is take on their advice and actually do it.
Action it and record that you've done it and then show them proof, right?
Yeah. Because the amount of people who ask me on Instagram or whatever, like, oh, how do I do this and that? And you're like, okay, let me just give you like the whole freaking shabam, or let me answer your specific question. And then they follow up like a month later, like, oh, how do I do this? And I'm like, oh, have you done
You've done the first thing I told you. No, I'm working on it. And then there's a mountain of excuses afterwards.
Exactly, Here's my list of excuses. Pick the most relevant one. Yeah. And then you're like, well, you've totally fucking wasted my time, so I'm not going to help you again. Why would I? Like, it's pointless. But otherwise, you're just going to keep coming back with more questions and not action on anything.
And a lot of that comes in
stay
making
around in a circle. So take action or
and it's a
die. Basically.
No,
not like I don't hope them to die. I mean, like, you will die if you don't take action. Type.
Oh yeah, I get you. Sorry, I was like,
just
heard that completely the wrong way.
If you don't take action, you'll just stagnate.
Yeah, basically. And a lot of people stagnate for various reasons, normally to overcome, and there's a self-confidence thing, and that comes back to the stuff we talked about all the way at the start in terms of leveraging gratefulness and writing goals down and actually being motivated to do it.
Attitude of gratitude.
Yes, 100%. And like, there's little things like, especially if you come from a place where you've never been experienced to businesses or business owners before. I mean, until last year, I'd never met a business owner in my life, just from where I grew up. So I was like, okay, now I know I need to expose myself to people like this. And one of the tactics I saw on YouTube a long time ago, I think it was from a guy called Dan Locke, which he does a lot of course stuff. I think he's semi rough reputation sometimes for his course content, but this was a good little nugget. He said he essentially used to go to like posh hotel lobbies and like coffee shop near them, which are filled with high net worth individuals, and dress to impress like he's supposed to be there, and just work. Just buy coffees and work there. Put yourself in the mindset of it, even if you are dirt poor. Like, you got no money, you're trying to work on this startup, fine. Put yourself in that position to 100%. Open up a conversation next to, because you never know if that mentor will sit right next to you and grab a latte, and you can be like, do you want a drink, mate? And then go, you can use the little money you have to unlock a door you never knew existed.
Exactly.
Just put yourself in positions to succeed.
That's a huge thing. I remember reading Manny Koshbin's Driven book, and he said the same thing. He used to like go up, put a nice suit on, go to LA, drive in his like ropey car, and go to the cigar lounge where he knew like all the executives hung out, and that's how he then started started to build his network through that. So yeah, same principle.
Yeah, you got to get shifty and give yourself the confidence to do that. Give yourself permission to go, this is the type of lifestyle I want to achieve. I'm allowed to achieve it. Let me go and put myself in this environment.
Yeah.
Because so many people won't think like that. And it's where the limiting beliefs come in.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like in Ibiza, we just went to Ocean Beach, and the guy in the bed thing next to us is what I said, that guy Erasmus.
Yeah.
But like you can only sort of go there to spend, you have to spend that money to then access those people type thing. But ultimately, how much is that now worth it? That's like worth 1,000 times what I paid there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just works. That 100% works.
It's always just don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Give it a go. The worst that can happen is a sorry no.
Yeah.
What's that going to do to you? Nothing.
Yeah, you think your life's going to end from rejection, but as soon as you've been rejected a few times, you quickly realise, still alive.
Yeah. Fear stagnation, not rejection at all times.
Yeah.
And it's a lesson that must be learned manually. Yeah. I think it's never one
you have to go through it.
Never one you'll hear on a podcast and then just automatically know. You have to feel it and be through it.
Yeah.
But then
it's tough, but
put yourself in a position to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
And just institute anything to get what you want in life. But so many ways to do it now with the internet being what it is, the shift in over to TikTok and the kind of exposure you can get in terms of just boosting an idea or even being a content creator. There's so many more avenues to succeed now than there ever has been in human history that give yourself license to try as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be done.
100%.
But I think that about wraps it up.
Excellent.
Thank you, mate, for coming down.
Welcome.
What a conversation. Oh, let me soft noodle one. No,
there you go. Yeah, you got to squeeze the hand. Yeah. That's it.
But appreciate it. Tom, is there anything you want to mention, business-wise, update-wise?
This book.
Yes, mention it. What we got
this
going on?
This is my latest book. No, joking. No, this is a book that my mentor Marco recommended me in terms because I had my COO and I was like trying to make decisions on whether I should keep her, different things of what was going to happen. Like, it's basically just a decision-making book. It helps you on problem solving and management. And already, like, it's got like, I don't know if you can see this, it's got like a bunch of flowcharts and shit. And
nice.
It's just,
that's already helped me. Examples.
Yeah. That's what I was writing down earlier when you came over with coffee. Yeah, it's just brilliant. So I would recommend that book. That's probably slightly more high level if you're looking for something on management and problem solving. Right? Yeah. It just helps you map it out, which is brilliant. So
highly recommended, y'all.
That's what I'd recommend. There's also the daily, if you just search like daily stoic thing or something. Yeah,
I think I've got them on Instagram.
Yeah. That is also a freaking awesome book. 1 page a day, such a good way of getting back into reading. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Check out printedmemories.com.
Excellent. Yeah, Printed Memories. No, that's what that part of the show is for, mate. Just to let people know what's going on because you've got a ton of awesome stuff going on. I really appreciate your time.
Welcome. Always good fun.
It is, mate. But for now, that's it. If you need anything, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, wherever the hell you need to find us. If you have any questions, get involved. Comment sections down below. Ask me, Tom, anything, and I shall refer the comments. But share this if you can, because I think spreading the awareness of the show will be really, really important in the future. There could be some big changes coming to how we got this whole thing set up. Maybe some local collaboration with something. So keep in mind for that. It's going to be big changes coming to the show. But for now, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you later.